Houston, Texas. Houston, we have a problem. 4 generations. Those words defined the city's relationship with space. Mission control for humanity's greatest adventures. Always on the ground looking up. But by 2085, Houston has transformed from space support city into launch point itself. Millions of tourists depart Earth annually from Houston spaceports. The city that guided Apollo now sends ordinary people to orbit, the moon, and beyond. This is the story of how Houston became humanity's gateway to the cosmos. The transformation began with commercial space race acceleration. By 2035, SpaceX, Blue Origin, and new competitors needed launch facilities beyond Cape Canaveral. Houston offered NASA legacy, aerospace expertise, flat terrain, coastal access, and business-friendly Texas environment. First commercial spaceport opened 2038. By 2050, Houston operated 6 major spaceports. By 2070, space tourism became bigger industry than oil ever was. Houston's destiny was always upward. The George Bush Intercontinental Spaceport, converted from traditional airport, handles suborbital tourist flights. Passengers check in like commercial flights, but board space planes instead of airplanes. 2-hour flights reach edge of space, provide weightlessness. Return same day. Cost dropped to level of first-class international ticket. Space became accessible luxury, not billionaire exclusive. Ordinary people experience astronaut views. The Ellington Orbital launch complex sends tourists to space hotels in low Earth orbit. Week-long vacations include spacewalks, Earth viewing, and zero-gravity experiences. Multiple hotels orbit above Houston, visible from ground at night as moving stars. Space hotels became destination resorts. Orbit became vacation spot. Honeymoons happened in weightlessness. The Houston Lunar Gateway, newest spaceport, launches tourists to moon. 3-day journey each way. Week on lunar surface in pressurized hotels. Earthrise views, low-gravity recreation, lunar surface exploration. Moon tourism became ultimate luxury travel. Lunar vacations achieved. Space dreams realized. Space tourism created comprehensive ecosystem. Training facilities prepare tourists for space conditions. Medical screening ensures safety. Insurance companies cover space travel. Lawyers specialize in space contracts. Entire industry emerged serving space tourists. Space created economy, not just experience. The Johnson Space Center evolved into Space Tourism University. Astronaut training adapted for civilians. Multi-week courses teach orbital mechanics, spacewalking, emergency procedures. Graduates certified for independent space travel. Education made space safer and more accessible. Knowledge democratized space. Houston restaurants developed space cuisine. Chefs created meals for zero gravity. Food science advanced for space conditions. Space food moved from survival to gourmet. Culinary innovation served tourism. Michelin stars reached orbit through Houston kitchens. Fashion industry created space tourism apparel. Functional spacesuits became fashionable. Designer spacewear emerged. People looked good while experiencing space. Fashion met function. Style reached orbit. Photography became major space tourism component. Space photographers guided tourists capturing Earth, stars, moon. Orbital photography studios offered professional shoots. Wedding photos taken in orbit. Memories captured in zero gravity. Photography elevated by location. Entertainment content created in Houston orbit. Movies filmed in actual space. Reality shows in orbital hotels. Concerts performed weightless. Space became content creation location. Entertainment industry leveraged unique environment. Creativity liberated by gravity's absence. Scientific research piggybacked on tourism infrastructure. Orbital laboratories used same launch systems. Medical research in microgravity advanced. Materials science experiments conducted. Tourism enabled science through shared costs. Commerce subsidized discovery. Space debris cleanup became Houston's specialty. Companies launched from Houston to remove orbital trash. Tourism required clean orbits. Cleanup industry emerged. Houston companies led debris removal. Space environmentalism born. Satellite servicing industry thrived. Houston companies repaired, refueled, upgraded satellites. Tourism launch frequency enabled economical servicing. Space maintenance became viable business. Satellites lived longer through Houston services. Asteroid mining operations headquartered in Houston. Companies launched mineral extraction missions. Resources returned to Earth. Space mining became reality. Houston coordinated asteroid economy. Extraterrestrial resources exploited. Space hotel chains headquartered in Houston. Orbital Marriott, Hilton Lunar. Holiday in Lagrange Point operated from Houston. Hospitality industry extended to space. Hotel expertise applied to zero gravity. Service culture reached orbit. Space insurance became major financial sector. Lloyd's of Space Houston underwriting policies. Risk assessment for orbital operations. Financial innovation served space industry. Insurance enabled space commerce. Risk management allowed exploration. Real estate development planned orbital cities. Houston companies designing permanent space habitats. Plans for rotating stations providing artificial gravity. Future orbital communities designed in Houston. Space architecture emerging. Permanent space living approaching. Space law became legal specialty. Houston law firms handled orbital contracts, space property rights, international space agreements. Legal framework enabled space commerce. Lawyers made space possible. Regulations followed innovation. Medical space tourism emerged. Zero-gravity therapy for injuries, orbital rehabilitation, space-based surgeries. Medical tourism extended to orbit. Healing in weightlessness. Medicine utilized space environment. Retirement communities planned in orbit. Elderly residents benefiting from low gravity, reducing physical strain. Space retirement homes designed. Aging in orbit becoming option. Elder care reimagined for space. Education transformed through space field trips. School groups visited orbit regularly. Students learned science in actual space. Educational space tourism thrived. Learning happened in space, not textbooks. Knowledge gained through experience. Sports evolved for space environment. Zero-gravity Olympics held in orbit. New sports invented for weightlessness. Athletes competed in space. Athletic innovation in unique environment. Sports reached new frontier. Art created in space gained prestige. Orbital art studios produced zero-gravity sculptures, paintings, installations. Space art movement emerged. Creativity enhanced by environment. Art elevated by location. Wedding industry exploded with orbital ceremonies. Space weddings became ultimate luxury. Couples married with Earth backdrop. Zero-gravity receptions. Romance reached orbit. Love celebrated in space. Space psychology addressed mental challenges. Therapists specialized in space adaptation. Mental health services for tourists and workers. Psychological support enabled space living. Minds prepared for space. Cuisine in orbit became gourmet experience. Rotating restaurants with Earth views. Molecular gastronomy adapted for weightlessness. Dining became space tourism highlight. Food elevated by location and science. Fitness industry adapted for zero gravity. Orbital gyms prevented muscle atrophy. Exercise equipment designed for weightlessness. Fitness tourism emerged. Health maintained in space. Bodies adapted for orbit. Space spirituality emerged. Orbital meditation retreats, religious services in space, contemplative experiences enhanced by cosmic perspective. Spirituality elevated by environment. Faith expanded to cosmos. Manufacturing moved to orbit utilizing microgravity. Pharmaceutical production, fiber optics, crystal growth superior in space. Industrial space operations launched from Houston. Manufacturing evolution into orbit. Production improved by weightlessness. Space burial services became memorial option. Ashes launched to orbit, deep space, or lunar surface. Memorial industry extended to space. Final resting place among stars. Death transcended through space. Language evolved with space terminology. New vocabulary for orbital living entered common usage. Space slang emerged. Language adapted for space age. Communication evolved with experience. Architecture schools taught space habitat design. Houston University's leading space architecture education. Students designing orbital structures. New discipline emerged. Architecture extended to zero gravity. Genealogy research conducted in space isolation. Orbital genetic studies free from Earth contamination. Pure research environment. Science benefited from orbital separation. Research improved by space. Time capsules placed in stable orbits. Messages for future civilizations. Cultural preservation in space. Legacy extended beyond Earth. Time transcended through orbital storage. Virtual reality training prepared tourists before actual launch. VR space experiences reduced anxiety. Technology enabled mental preparation. Simulation improved real experience. Virtual preceded actual. Crowdfunding enabled average people space access. Platforms funded individual space trips. Community supported space dreams. Financial innovation democratized access. Money pooled for orbital journeys. Environmental monitoring from orbital perspective. Earth observation advanced climate science. Space tourism infrastructure served environmental research. Orbit provided environmental oversight. Space enabled Earth protection. Telecommunications advanced through space tourism. Satellite deployment using tourist launches. Communication infrastructure improved. Shared launch systems benefited connectivity. Tourism enabled communication advancement. Energy experiments conducted in orbit. Solar power satellite testing. Fusion research in microgravity. Energy future researched in space. Orbit enabled energy innovation. Space-powered Earth dreams. Historical preservation included space artifacts. Original space hotel modules preserved as museums. Orbital heritage sites protected. History made and preserved in space. Legacy built in orbit. International cooperation centered in Houston. Space nations coordinated through Houston facilities. Diplomatic space hub emerged. Cooperation enabled by tourism. Peace advanced through shared space. Luxury exceeded Earth possibilities. Orbital suites more expensive than Earth's finest hotels. Ultra-luxury space tourism emerged. Wealth displayed through space access. Ultimate status through orbital travel. Agriculture research utilized orbital conditions. Plant growth studies in microgravity. Food security advanced through space research. Agriculture benefited from orbit. Farming improved by space. Weather prediction improved from orbital vantage. Hurricane tracking from space hotels. Meteorology advanced through tourism infrastructure. Weather forecasting improved by orbit. Prediction benefited from space. Youth programs sent disadvantaged kids to space. Scholarships funded underrepresented astronauts. Equity in space access pursued. Democracy extended to orbit. Opportunity reached for all. Elder space travelers proved age no barrier. Oldest astronauts in 80s and 90s. Age diversity in orbit. Lifelong dreams fulfilled late. Space accessible across lifespan. Disabled accessibility, advanced space design. Wheelchairs adapted for zero gravity. Inclusive space tourism emerged. Disability no barrier to orbit. Access for all achieved. Romance flourished in weightlessness. Engagement rings floated during proposals. Honeymoon suites orbited Earth. Love enhanced by cosmic setting. Romance elevated by space. Mental breakthrough reported by space tourists. Overview affect transforming perspectives. Psychological shifts from cosmic view. Consciousness expanded by space. Minds changed by orbit. Safety record became impeccable. Decades without tourist casualty. Technology matured. Space travel safer than driving. Risk eliminated through engineering. Safety achieved enabling growth. Economic impact on Houston massive. Space tourism larger than energy sector. Employment in hundreds of thousands. Prosperity through space. City economy transformed upward. Global tourism rankings placed Houston first. More international visitors than any city. Gateway to space made gateway to world. Tourism supremacy through space. Destination became ultimate. Cultural impact spread globally. Space tourism inspired art, music, literature worldwide. Consciousness shift from orbital access. Culture transformed by space democratization. Humanity evolved through shared space. Children grew up expecting space travel. Generation never knowing space as impossible. Perspective shift profound. Limits dissolved. Possibilities expanded infinitely. Mars missions launched from Houston platforms. Orbital assembly of deep spacecraft. Houston became staging point for interplanetary travel. Gateway extended beyond Earth orbit. Solar system opened through Houston. The transformation wasn't without challenges. Environmental concerns about launches. Wealth inequality in space access persisted. Orbital crowding issues emerged. Problems accompanied success. But trajectory undeniably positive. Space age dawned in Houston. As Earth rises over Houston spaceports, the city glows with lights of humanity's greatest adventure. Where mission control once guided distant astronauts, millions now depart personally. The final frontier became accessible frontier. Space dreams realized through Houston's vision and determination. Houston, we have a solution. Space for everyone. Houston's journey from oil capital to space tourism capital demonstrates economic transformation possibilities. Resources transitioned from hydrocarbon to orbital. Expertise evolved from drilling down to launching up. Cities reinvent through vision and investment. Houston chose space and won cosmos. Every city can transform if bold enough to reimagine destiny. Houston 2085. Space tourism capital of Earth. Where ordinary people become astronauts. Where orbital vacations replace beach resorts. Where humanity's off-world future begins with tourists' first step into spacecraft. From Houston, we have a problem. To Houston, we have departure. The city that guided space from ground now launches millions to stars. Welcome to Houston, where everyone can touch the cosmos.